Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today. As always, it's don't know what it is today. It's still dark out. The days are getting shorter here in St. Louis, Missouri. That's why sometimes I wish I lived closer to the equator because it doesn't change as much. But the contrast is interesting. Today's topic is going to be a continuation of The Power is Within. We were talking about the blame game yesterday. If you blame people in your life, you're never going to accomplish anything, because guess what? If you're blaming people, then you're saying you're not responsible. You are a victim. No one is to blame. You've brought everything into your life by your thinking. I know that's hard to believe, but most people don't think about what they think about. So with that being said, hit that like button and subscribe, and we will continue with The Power is Within, available on Amazon Books. Pick up your copy today. I'm sure it will be of value to you, or listen to me here for free. Okay, let's go. Location 1090 in the ebook. Okay, no good comes from self-pity. Many people have gone through the exact same things you have and made it out, became successful and fulfilled their dreams, and now help others do the same. They may have even had parents that make yours look like saints. Your upbringing was perfect. It was just as perfect as every person of great renown you have ever heard of from history. Your mind has the same ability as those people, the Teslas, the Einsteins, the Fords. I know you may find it hard to believe, but it's true. What is the difference between those people and you? Nothing. They walked through the fear, but they were afraid, just like you are. They stepped into the fear. Don't you think that Einstein and Tesla and they were ridiculed, thought of as ignorant or crazy or out of their mind? Marconi was the first one that thought or believed that you could transmit sound through the air without a wire, because at that time you could only transmit messages through a wire. So his best buddies, two of them, had him locked up in an asylum because they thought he was crazy. For an evaluation he needed, they thought, because he thought you could transmit sound or voices or messages through the air without a wire. And look at us now with the cell phones and everything. Thank God he didn't give up just because his buddies locked him up. I think I might change my friends if I had friends like that. And that's important too. You become part of what you are around. Make sure your friends believe in you and believe in themselves and are doing something with their life. Otherwise, you may find yourself doing nothing with your life. Einstein was said to be dull-witted by his teachers. Stupid. Never amount to anything. He couldn't speak until he was 3. He hated school, and his teachers said he wouldn't amount to anything. I heard that myself when I was a kid. And it says, I forgot I wrote that. I heard that very same thing when I was young. Mark Twain said, never let schooling interfere with education. Winston Churchill said, how I hated school and what a life of anxiety I lived there. I counted the days and the hours to the end of every term when I should return home from this hateful servitude. And I must admit, I felt the same way. I quit school when I was a sophomore in high school. I went on to have a successful English school in Central America. Many years later, I think education is very important. Although the formal education that they offer in school today, past the 6th or 8th grade, I think is pretty useless for most of us. It was useless for me anyway. It was a waste of my time. I wanted to go to work. I wanted to do something. That's exactly what I did. And I've been working ever since. And I love what I do. So it's just not for everybody. That doesn't mean it doesn't work for some people. But to me, it's like they teach you to be a worker among workers, to conform and to be like everyone else. Because in school, if you don't if you don't conform and don't get the approval from the teachers, you're in trouble most of the time. You get up when the bell rings, you sit down when the bell rings, you do what they say when the bell rings, just like working in a factory. So, are they preparing you to be a worker among workers or a leader among leaders? You can answer that question for yourself. There is nothing in this world that is cookie cutter, least of all you. You are not here only to work and die. You are not here to repeat the lives of your parents. You are here to live your own ambitions and help others live theirs. You are connected to the same universal mind that all the great teachers of history are still connected to. And it is never too late. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Hold to that vision until your days are over. You have got to believe in yourself. You have got to believe that you have the same abilities and powers that these so-called famous and geniuses have, because you do. But unless you believe it, you will never act on it. Maybe you have been raised up in a home where you were told you would never amount to anything, or your dad whipped your butt, and your mom talked badly to you. Maybe you never felt loved. It doesn't matter. You have to learn to love yourself. You can't change the past, but you can reframe it or revise it and think about the good things that happened to you. Think about what you did have. You are alive today because of your parents or because of some adult. Someone took care of you sometime in your past. So that was an act of love, regardless of how harsh they may have been. You can focus on the harshness and the meanness, or you can focus on what has brought you here today, that someone did care for you. And sometimes if you look back on your past and if you can find out something about how your parents were raised, you may find out that you had it much better than they did, and that they did the best they could no matter how horrible they were. It's easy to judge when you haven't walked in someone's shoes, and I have done that many times myself, to find out later that I was mistaken. I once worked for a man named Foy Hawkins. I was 16 at the time and he was 76. I was a good worker, a hard worker, but that man could outwork me any day of the week and twice on Sunday. We dug ditches, mixed cement, chiseled rock by sledgehammer. Foy worked well into his 80s and one day he died. He had purpose all his life. Another man I know is currently in his 80s and drives a cement truck. He's healthy, he enjoys his work, and he has no intention of retiring. As a society, we try to tuck our old people away once we decide they no longer have purpose. We bury them in nursing homes long before we bury them in the ground. That is ridiculous. So much wisdom, and we discard it like trash. Then maybe we visit them a few times a month when our guilt dictates. If I'm speaking directly to you, what are you going to do about it? Get angry and shut the book, or realize that tomorrow is a new day? I'm not telling you how to take care of your parents in their old age, only that people have value until they die. It's up to them to harness it. But if you can help them, or at least not hinder them, why not? So many people are sitting in a nursing home just waiting to die. And there's a valuable resource of wisdom inside those people. And what does it say in the big black book that's been around for thousands of years? That wisdom is more valuable than gold. There was a story in a book I read one time, and someone offered a person wisdom or gold. I can't remember if they took the wisdom or gold, but the point is, the gold, you'll spend it up and have no more. But with wisdom, you can always gain more gold. So the wisdom is more valuable than the gold. Think about that one. Speaking of guilt, have you ever experienced it? If so, rejoice. You have a fully functioning emotional guidance system telling you to change something in your life. Excuse me. Don't run from it. Don't dull it with drugs or alcohol. It loves you and wants the best for you. Listen to it. Guilt is only the way the body shows its love for you. The whole body cares about you. It is not only your brain that thinks. Every cell is a living entity within you with intelligence of its own. Your heart emits a field of energy which we can now actually measure. Science is finally catching up to what some of the great teachers have always known. Auras, those halos of energy that you once believed were only the subject of crazy people, they even are now being measured with new specialized equipment. Right now, they can only be measured within a couple feet of the body. But I would be willing to bet it won't be long before technology shows that they are infinite, connecting us all. This illustrates the fact that we don't believe what we see what we believe. But this cuts both ways, both in creation and destruction. An old Chinese proverb tells of a plague that visits a city and asks if the gatekeeper will open the gate. "No," said the gatekeeper, "you will kill everyone in the city." "I promise I will only kill 5,000, says the plague. The gatekeeper thinks, "If I don't let him in through the gate, he may grow angry and sneak in and kill everyone anyway. My only chance is to let him in." The gatekeeper lets the plague in, and 50,000 people die. When the plague returned to the gate asking to be let out, the gatekeeper said, "You lied to me." "I did not lie," said the plague. "I only killed 5,000. The rest died of fear of the plague." We have the same problem playing out today. As of this writing, several million people have now died from the current health crisis. That is a terrible tragedy, no matter how the situation is spun. I have personally known two people who died. One was a 97-year-old woman, and the other was a man who was about my age, but had destroyed his lungs early in life. For them, contacting the virus was a death sentence. So what then do we do? We should warn people, of course, teach them how to avoid contacting the virus. What else? Have you spent any time reading the news surrounding the virus? How many articles have you seen focusing on the more than 99.5% recovery rate? How many reports have you read that seem to preach a gospel of doom? The media, drug companies, politicians, they all make their livings spreading fear, and the quicker it spreads, the more they make. Fear is dangerous, but fear of a virus is what would cripple society today, topple society. One day it will be my time to go, and one day it will be yours. Death comes for us all, but fear of death will only hasten its visits. Death smiles at us all. All we can do is look back and smile. Marcus Aurelius. The reason we fear death is because we don't know what's on the other side. We worry that it's horrible or simply nothing at all. This is the same fear that keeps us stuck in situations we hate, the fear of the unknown. We aren't happy with our present situation, but we don't know if the next one will be any better. There is an odd comfort in knowing that if we just stay where we are, at least we won't hurt any more than we already do. Women who finally leave abusive relationships speak of this, the paralysis of the known caused by the fear of the unknown. Change need not be radical to be changed. Like the giant snowball, sometimes all you need is to get change started with something small. Make the choice to avoid the television today. Take a walk or ride a bike instead. Get up a bit earlier and read, or use your extra time to begin that course you've always wanted to take. Take the small steps now and keep taking them. Soon, you'll find yourself at the top of the hill looking down instead of at the bottom looking up. We will start on chapter 15 tomorrow or the next day, in case I have another topic. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you then.